Arizona's foster care system has had its challenges, with wild swings of too many child removals by the agency, followed by high-profile cases where the agency wasn't acting quickly enough to keep a child safe from abuse. The result has been too many children in the system, many suffering even more trauma on top of the original abuse, some permanently damaged from too many disruptive placements by languishing in state care rather than in a safe, permanent home. Last year, we required case managers to obtain a court order before removing a child from their home. And now that policy is being rolled out. The initial feedback from better assessments and the added warrants requirement is already showing fewer child removals than there would have been without the court's oversight. This is a good sign. This year, the legislature took an even bolder step.
She said, we have babies staying overnight in government office buildings and in shelters right now. So if you could open a crib, we'd be so grateful. So instead of leaving with a teenager, I left the hospital cradling a tiny little newborn who was shaking and very pale and drug exposed. And that was the beginning of where I began to learn about how many infants these days are being born drug exposed. Every 15 minutes, a baby will be born addicted to meth or heroin. And if they can't safely go home, they go into foster care. And then what happens is really the luck of the draw. Senator Barto immediately understood that these tens of thousands of infants were in crisis. They needed homes, and they needed those homes quickly. And it was taking the Department of Child Safety 4 years on average for one of these little babies to get a family. And we all know that that's too long and that family is everything. And so she sponsored legislation that gets these little babies their homes within their first year of life, whether that's with a relative or whether they need to be adopted. I met a young man who was put in the system when he was 3 years old, and by age 17 still had never been returned home or adopted. So some of these infants will just linger and linger and linger, waiting for permanency. And that's what's so wonderful about what Senator Barto did for the children of Arizona. She knew that these children needed families, that they couldn't wait for bureaucracies. None of the normal excuses were acceptable for delaying families for these children. And she worked so hard with people, all parties, the independents, the Republicans and Democrats, to come up with a package that was about child safety and family, and it was voted into law in an 87-1 vote. That is leadership that you can just count on, and that is going to make a huge difference for the children of this state. There are 20,000 children who live in limbo in this state in foster care. They are not living at home, and they are not being adopted. And for those children, what Senator Barto has done is she has sped up the time for them to get closure so they can either be returned safely or have a forever family. But regardless, they will have a safe family forever. What I really appreciate and respect about Senator Barto is that she is true to her word. And if she says that she is going to fight for a cause, she will fight. But she makes it look easy, and she does it with a smile on her face. But at the end of the day, that cause will prevail. And as a voter, that's the kind of person who I want representing me and the people of this state.
There's much more work in progress. Learn more at nancybarto.com.